Captain Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair outside the Galactic Council meeting room. His hands were tight fists on his knees. Through the thick glass doors he could see the alien delegates talking loudly. They were arguing about Earth's request for basic medical supplies. This was the third year in a row that humans had asked for help. And this was the third year they would be told, no. Dr. Lisa Grant stood next to Morrison. She was Earth's top diplomat, but even she looked tired now. Her face was pale and her eyes were red from too many sleepless nights. She watched the Zephyrian ambassador wave his long tentacles in the air, clearly angry about something. The translator, device on Grant's ear, crackled with his words. Humans always want more, the Zephyrian said. They give us a few toys and think they deserve everything. Morrison's jaw got even tighter. 3 months ago, human soldiers had saved the Zephyrian home planet from a massive asteroid strike. Human engineers had worked day and night to build shield generators that protected millions of Zephyrian civilians. And this was how they were repaid. Admiral Kate Hayes was on her ship at the edge of the galaxy when she got the message. The EDF Titan was humanity's biggest and most advanced warship. Hayes had been proud to command it, but now she felt sick to her stomach. Earth's request for antimatter fuel had been rejected again. The aliens said humans didn't need it for peaceful purposes. The joke was cruel. Humans had invented the antimatter refinement process. Every alien ship in the galaxy used human-designed engines. Every space station ran on human-built power systems. Yet Earth couldn't get enough fuel to keep their own defense fleet running. Hayes walked to the bridge and looked out at the stars. She had spent 15 years fighting alien wars. She had lost good friends defending worlds she had never heard of before. Human blood had been spilled on 100 different planets, all to protect aliens who saw humans as nothing more than useful servants. Back on Earth, President Dan Baker was having the worst day of his political career. He sat in the Oval Office with his top advisors spread around the room. The holographic display showed the latest vote results from the Galactic Council. Earth had been denied medical supplies, denied fuel, denied raw materials for their colonies. But they had been approved to send more soldiers to fight the void. Hunters. Chief Science Officer Amy Torres stood up and activated another display. The numbers were clear and brutal. In the last 10 years, humanity had given the galaxy faster-than-light communication. They had shared quantum computer designs that revolutionized alien technology. They had provided medical treatments that doubled the lifespan of 12 different species. Human weapons had stopped 3 major wars before they could destroy entire star systems. What had Earth received in return? Torres scrolled through the list. Scraps of low-grade metal, access to a few uninhabitable planets, permission to trade with the outer rim worlds, but only for goods the aliens didn't want. We're not partners, Torres said quietly. We're servants who get paid in leftover food. Senator Rick Stone was reading the latest decree from the Galactic Council when he started shouting. His aide ran into the office, worried that something terrible had happened. In a way, it had. The Council had voted to conscript human soldiers for their war against the Void Hunters. Every human between the ages of 18 and 35 could be drafted for military service. But there was more. The same vote had restricted human access to advanced weapons. Human soldiers would fight with outdated equipment while alien officers used the latest technology. Technology that humans had invented and shared freely. Stone threw the papers across his office. They want us to die for them with our hands tied behind our backs. The final insult came during the evening session. Morrison and Grant were still waiting outside the council chambers when the doors finally opened. The Andromedan Supreme Chancellor walked out first. He was tall and thin, with silver skin that reflected the corridor lights. Behind him came representatives from dozens of other species. The Chancellor stopped in front of Morrison. His voice was cold and mechanical through the translator. Captain Morrison, the Council has decided that humans will provide military support for the Void Hunter conflict. Your species will contribute 500,000 soldiers within 6 months. In return, Earth will receive standard military rations and basic medical supplies for your wounded. Morrison stared at the alien. And our request for fuel and materials for our colonies? Denied. Humans have shown they cannot be trusted with advanced resources. You will fight with the equipment we provide. Grant stepped forward. Chancellor, with respect, human technology powers this entire galaxy. Our medical advances have saved billions of lives. Our weapons have protected worlds from destruction. Surely we deserve better treatment than this. The Chancellor's expression didn't change. Humans are useful servants, Dr. Grant. But servants do not make demands of their masters. That night, President Baker made the most important decision in human history. He sat alone in his office, looking at reports from across the galaxy. Human scientists were working without pay to solve alien problems. Human doctors were saving alien lives while Earth's hospitals lacked basic equipment. Human soldiers were dying in alien wars while being treated like expendable tools. Baker picked up his secure phone and called Admiral Hayes. Then he called the directors of every human colony, every research station, every military base outside the Sol system. The message was simple and shocking. Humanity was going home. Effective immediately, Baker announced in his address to Earth. We are withdrawing from all galactic treaties. We will recall every human citizen from alien space. We will shut down every piece of human technology we have shared. We will end all military cooperation and scientific collaboration. He paused and looked directly into the camera. For too long, we have been generous to those who see us as servants. For too long, we have shared our gifts with those who give us nothing in return. Today, humanity walks away. The broadcast went out across the galaxy on every human-built communication network. Within hours, every alien government received the same message. Earth was done playing games. Humanity had tried to be good neighbors, helpful friends, and reliable allies. In return, they had been treated like slaves. The galaxy was about to learn what it was like to survive without human innovation, human medicine, human technology, and human protection. And Earth was about to discover just how much stronger they could become when they stopped giving their strength away. Commander Beth Taylor stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty as her fleet approached the mining colony on Kepler 186b. Her orders were clear, but still felt strange. She was here to bring every human home. Not just the people, but everything they had built, invented, or created. The colony had been humanity's pride for 8 years. Human miners had turned a dead rock into a thriving world that produced rare metals for the entire galaxy. The alien overseers had grown rich while paying human workers barely enough to survive. Today, that would end. Taylor opened a communication channel to the colony. This is Commander Taylor of the Earth Defense Fleet. All human personnel are to report to the evacuation ships immediately. Bring only personal items. Everything else stays here. The alien supervisor, a short blue creature called Vex, appeared on the screen. His 4 eyes were wide with panic. Commander, you cannot do this. The mining contracts run for 20 more years. The Galactic Trade Union will not allow this disruption. Taylor's expression was cold. The contracts were with Earth. Earth has withdrawn from the Galactic Trade Union. Pack your own bags, Supervisor Vex. This colony shuts down in 12 hours. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. Human engineers, doctors, scientists, and workers received the same message. Come home, bring nothing that belongs to the aliens, leave everything you built behind. But there was a secret to the evacuation that the aliens didn't understand. Dr. Sam Price was in charge of shutting down the antimatter refineries on 3 different worlds. As he moved from station to station, he wasn't just turning off the lights. He was activating hidden programs that human engineers had built into every system they designed. Price smiled as he entered the shutdown codes. Every piece of human technology had a backdoor. Every system had a kill switch. The aliens had been so eager to get human inventions that they never asked how they worked. They just plugged them in and expected them to run forever. The antimatter refineries didn't just shut down, they wiped their own memory banks. The quantum computers didn't just stop working, they deleted every program and calculation they had ever performed. The alien technicians would find empty machines that looked perfect but couldn't do anything at all. On the medical station orbiting Rigel Prime, Dr. Nina Foster was packing up the last of the human medical equipment. The alien patients in the hospital beds looked confused and scared. For 6 years, human doctors had been treating conditions that alien medicine couldn't handle. Brain surgery, genetic therapy, organ replacement, all human innovations that had saved thousands of alien lives. The head of the hospital, Dr. Zem, grabbed Foster's arm as she headed for the exit. "You cannot leave us like this. We have patients who will die without human medical techniques." Foster gently removed the alien's hand from her arm. "Dr. Zem, we trained your doctors for 6 years. We showed them every procedure, shared every technique. If they can't perform the treatments now, that's not our problem anymore. But the equipment, the medicines, how will we maintain the systems?" Foster looked around the state-of-the-art medical center that humans had built from nothing. "The same way you maintained hospitals before humans arrived, I suppose. Good luck, Doctor." The communications breakdown started on the second day of the evacuation. Lieutenant Alex Wright was the last human technician in the Galactic Communication Center on Proxima Station. He sat at his console watching the network status displays. Green lights showed billions of active connections across thousands of worlds. Wright had designed most of the system himself. The quantum entanglement relays that made instant communication possible across the galaxy were his invention. The translation protocols that let different species talk to each other were written by his team. The security systems that protected government communications were built with human code. He started typing shutdown commands. One by one, the green lights turned red. Communication relays went offline. Translation systems crashed. Security protocols locked everyone out of their own networks. Within 6 hours, the galaxy's unified communication system collapsed into isolated chunks of primitive radio signals. Wright's last message went out on all channels before the system died completely. This network was built by humans, maintained by humans, and improved by humans. Since humans are no longer welcome in galactic society, neither is human technology. Have a nice day. Captain Roy Martin commanded the largest military evacuation in history. Human soldiers were fighting on 17 different fronts against various enemies of the Galactic Council. Most of them had been in combat for months or years, using their skills and courage to protect alien worlds. The orders to withdraw came as a shock to many of the troops. They had made friends among the alien civilians they protected. They had fought alongside alien soldiers who respected their abilities. Leaving felt like abandoning people who needed help. But Martin's orders were clear. Every human soldier, pilot, engineer, and medic was coming home, no exceptions, no delays. The galaxy would have to fight its own wars from now on. The withdrawal from the Void Hunter front was the most dramatic. Human tactical officers had been coordinating the defense of 6 star systems against the mysterious enemy fleet. Human pilots flew the most dangerous missions because their reflexes and creativity gave them an edge in combat. General Cax of the Centauri Defense Force watched in horror as human ships pulled back from the battle lines. "Captain Martin, you cannot withdraw now. The Void Hunters will break through our defenses within days." Martin's response was broadcast to every alien commander in the sector. "General, human soldiers have been fighting and dying for alien causes for 15 years. We've saved your worlds, protected your people, and asked for nothing but basic respect in return. Instead, we've been treated like expendable servants. Find someone else to die for you." The evacuation ships were an impressive sight. Hundreds of human vessels moved in perfect formation from world to world, collecting their people and their technology. The aliens watching from their planets saw the beginning of something they hadn't expected. Earth wasn't just calling its people home. Earth was taking its future back. As the last evacuation ship left alien space, the true scale of human involvement in galactic society became clear. Trade routes that depended on human navigation systems became dangerous and unpredictable. Factories that used human automation stopped producing goods. Hospitals that relied on human medical techniques found themselves back in the dark ages of alien medicine. But the humans weren't just leaving. They were learning. Every piece of technology they took home would be studied, improved, and advanced, beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Earth was about to become something the aliens never thought possible, completely independent and incredibly powerful. The exodus was complete. Humanity had walked away from the galaxy's problems. Soon, the galaxy would realize that humanity had taken all the solutions with them. 3 months after the human exodus, Chancellor Vex of the Altarian Republic stood before his emergency council. The proud alien leader who had once dismissed humans as useful servants now looked tired and defeated. His silver skin had lost its shine, and his forearms shook as he held up the latest reports. "The trade routes are collapsing," he announced to the room full of worried faces. "Without human navigation systems, our cargo ships are getting lost in space. 3 freighters disappeared last week trying to reach the Rigel sector. The captains are afraid to leave port." Counselor Zara, a tall red-skinned alien from the Outer Rim, raised her hand. "What about the backup navigation systems we used before the humans arrived?" Vex's laugh was bitter. "We stopped maintaining those systems 20 years ago. Why would we need primitive star charts when humans gave us perfect quantum navigation? Half our pilots don't even know how to read the old maps." The truth was spreading across the galaxy like a disease. Every species had become completely dependent on human technology without realizing it. They had been so impressed by human inventions that they had forgotten how to do things the old way. Now the old way was their only option, and it wasn't working. On the manufacturing world of Kepler 442b, factory supervisor Tien Moore stood in front of assembly lines that had been silent for 2 months. The automated systems that humans had installed were slowly failing one by one. Error messages flashed on screens that no alien technician could understand. Moore had called in every expert on the planet, but none of them knew how to fix human-designed machines. The factories had been running perfectly for 15 years without any problems. The alien workers had become operators, not engineers. They knew which buttons to push, but they didn't understand what the buttons actually did. "Can we call the human technicians back?" asked one of the workers. "Maybe we can pay them extra to fix the systems?" Moore shook his head. "I tried. Earth's communication channels are closed to all alien contact. Even if we could reach them, why would they help us after how we treated them?" The medical crisis was even worse. Dr. Kelm of the Andromedan Medical Institute stared at the patient on the operating table. The alien had a brain tumor that would have been routine to remove with human surgical techniques, but without the human-designed medical equipment and computer-guided procedures, the operation was nearly impossible. Kelm had watched human doctors perform the surgery dozens of times. It looked simple when they did it. The human surgeons would use tiny robots controlled by quantum computers to remove tumors without damaging healthy tissue. The procedure took 2 hours and had a 99% success rate. Now, using traditional Andromedan medicine, the same operation would take 12 hours and had a 30% chance of success. The patient would probably die, and there was nothing Kelm could do about it. "Doctor," his assistant said quietly, "the patient's family is asking about the human treatment. Should I tell them it's no longer available?" Kelm closed his eyes. This patient was the 5th one this week who needed human medical techniques to survive. Before the humans left, his hospital had been one of the most advanced in the galaxy. Now it was barely better than a field clinic. "Tell them we'll do our best. With traditional methods," he said. "Don't mention the humans, it will only make them angry." The war against the Void Hunters was turning into a disaster. General Zara Kex watched from her command ship as another star system fell to the mysterious enemy. The defensive strategies that had worked for years suddenly meant nothing without human tactical support. Human officers had been the backbone of galactic military planning. They had a gift for seeing patterns that other species missed. They could predict enemy movements, coordinate complex battle plans, and adapt quickly when situations changed. Most importantly, they had designed the weapons and shield systems that kept alien fleets alive in combat. Now those systems were failing. The shield generators that protected Kex's ships were showing error messages in human languages that no alien could read. The quantum torpedoes that had been humanity's gift to galactic defense were running out of ammunition that only humans knew how to make. "General," her communications officer reported, "the 7th Fleet is requesting permission to retreat. Their shields are at 30% and dropping. They can't hold the line much longer." Kex stared at the tactical display. Red markers showed Void Hunter ships advancing on 3 fronts. Without human technology and expertise, her forces were just expensive targets waiting to be destroyed. "Grant the retreat," she ordered. "Fall back to the inner system. Maybe we can make a stand there." But even as she gave the order, Kex knew it was pointless. The Void Hunters had some kind of adaptive technology that learned from every battle. Human strategists had been the only ones smart enough to stay ahead of that adaptation. Now there was no one to develop new tactics or counter-strategies. The communication breakdown was causing chaos on every level of galactic society. What had once been a unified civilization was breaking apart into isolated groups that couldn't talk to each other effectively. Ambassador Rel of the Zephyrian Empire tried to negotiate a trade agreement with the Rigelian Council, but the meeting was a disaster. The translation systems that humans had built were offline. The Zephyrians and Rigelians had to use primitive universal translators that only worked for basic concepts. "We offer good metal for your plant food," Rel said slowly, hoping the machine would translate correctly. The Rigelian representative looked confused. "You want our children for sharp things?" The conversation went downhill from there. Complex diplomatic negotiations that once took hours now stretched into weeks of confusion and misunderstanding. Trade deals that had taken decades to build were falling apart because no one could communicate properly. Back on Earth, President Baker was receiving daily reports about the galactic situation. The information came from long-range sensors and communication intercepts, not from any official alien sources. Earth's intelligence networks had been quietly monitoring the galaxy's decline. "Mr. President," Chief Science Officer Torres reported, "our analysis shows that galactic civilization is regressing at an accelerating rate. Industrial production is down 60%. Military effectiveness has dropped by 75%. Interstellar trade has almost completely stopped." Baker nodded grimly. "Any attempts to contact us?" "Hundreds of them, sir. Every major government has tried to reach us through back channels. They're offering everything from full diplomatic recognition to seats on the High Council. Some are promising us entire star systems if we'll just turn the communication networks back on. And our response? Complete silence as ordered. Earth is maintaining zero contact with all alien governments." Torres activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red zones marked areas where civilization was breaking down. Yellow zones showed regions struggling to maintain basic services. Green zones, where things were still functioning normally, were becoming smaller every day. "How long before total collapse?" Baker asked. "Conservative estimate? 6 months. The Void Hunters are advancing faster now that there's no coordinated resistance. Trade networks are fragmenting into local systems only. Medical infrastructure is failing planet by planet. Unless something changes dramatically, we're looking at the end of galactic civilization as we know it." Baker studied the display for a long moment. Somewhere out there, billions of aliens were learning a hard lesson about taking their friends for granted. Earth had tried to be generous, helpful, and cooperative. In return, they had been treated like servants. Now the galaxy was paying the price for that mistake. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal, the galaxy was dying. Chancellor Vex stood on the bridge of his personal ship, looking out at what used to be the Altarian Republic's greatest trade hub. The space station was dark and empty, slowly spinning. In the void like a metal graveyard, his ship was barely holding together. The engines made strange noises, the life support systems failed twice a week, and the navigation computer couldn't plot a course longer than 2 jumps without breaking. Down. This was what happened when you tried to maintain human technology without humans. "Chancellor," his aide whispered, "the delegation is ready." Vex nodded slowly. He was leading the most important diplomatic mission in galactic history. Representatives from 12 major governments were traveling together to the Sol system. They were going to Earth to beg for humanity's help. The journey took 3 weeks instead of the usual 3 days. Their ships kept breaking down, getting lost, or running into problems that human crews would have solved in minutes. By the time they reached the edge of human space, Vex felt like he had aged 10 years. What they found there shocked them completely. The Sol system was surrounded by defensive platforms that looked like nothing they had ever seen before. The technology was clearly human, but it was far beyond anything humans had built before their withdrawal. Ambassador Helen Cross met the alien delegation at the newly constructed Terra station. She was calm and professional, but there was something different about her manner. She didn't seem eager to please or impress the aliens. She acted like someone who held all the power in the negotiation. "Chancellor Vex," Cross said politely, "thank you for coming. I understand you have some proposals to discuss." Vex had prepared a speech about mutual cooperation and shared benefits, but the words died in his throat when he saw what was behind Cross. Through the station's viewing windows, he could see Earth in the distance. But it wasn't the same Earth, the aliens remembered. Massive orbital shipyards surrounded the planet like metal rings. Thousands of ships moved in perfect formation between construction platforms that looked like small cities. Energy readings from his ship's sensors showed power sources that shouldn't have been possible. "What have you done?" Vex whispered. Cross smiled slightly. "We've been busy. When you're not spending all your time helping others, it's amazing how much you can accomplish for yourself." The formal negotiations began in a conference room that was bigger than most alien government buildings. The delegation sat on one side of a long table while Cross represented Earth alone. The contrast was obvious to everyone in the room. Vex started with the offers his government had authorized. The Altarian Republic is prepared to grant Earth full membership in the Galactic Council with expanded voting rights. We can offer preferential trade agreements and access to rare materials from our mining worlds. Cross listened politely but didn't seem impressed. "And in return, we need help restoring our communication networks. Our trade routes are collapsing and our people are suffering without the systems humans built for us." The Zephyrian ambassador leaned forward. "Earth's medical knowledge could save millions of lives across the galaxy. Surely you have a moral obligation to share your healing techniques?" Cross's expression turned cold. "Moral obligation, that's interesting. Where was that moral obligation when you were treating human doctors like servants? When you denied us basic medical supplies while we saved your people's lives?" The Rigelian representative tried a different approach. "Perhaps we could arrange a technology sharing agreement. Our scientists have made some advances that might interest you." Cross activated a holographic display that showed technical specifications completely beyond alien understanding. "With respect, Ambassador, I don't think you have anything we need anymore." The real shock came when the delegation tried to use their emergency communicators to contact their home governments. The devices didn't work. Cross explained calmly that Earth had developed quantum interference fields that blocked all alien communication technology. "You're prisoners here," Vex realized with growing horror. "You're guests," Cross corrected. "But yes, you'll be staying until our conversation is finished. We wouldn't want any of you calling for military backup or trying to coordinate some kind of response to what you're about to see." What they saw changed everything. Cross took them to an observation deck that showed the outer edge of the Sol system. In the distance, dark shapes were moving toward them, ships that the aliens recognized with terror. "Void hunters," the Centauri delegate gasped. "A full battle fleet. You have to evacuate. Your defensive platforms won't stop them." Cross checked her watch calmly. Actually, they should be arriving right about now. The alien delegation watched in complete shock as the Void Hunter fleet approached Earth's defenses. These were the same enemies that had been conquering the galaxy for months. The same adaptive technology that had learned to counter every alien weapon and strategy. But when the Void Hunters opened fire, something impossible happened. The human defensive platforms didn't just block the attacks. They seemed to absorb the energy and redirect it back at the enemy ships. Void Hunter vessels that had been unstoppable began exploding one after another. "How?" Vex whispered. "We spent a year studying every battle report, every tactical analysis, every piece of data about the Void Hunters that we could find," Cross explained. "While the galaxy was collapsing, we were learning. While you were fighting the same losing battles over and over, we were developing completely new approaches to warfare. The battle lasted 15 minutes. When it was over, the entire Void Hunter fleet had been destroyed, not defeated or driven off, completely annihilated by weapons. The aliens couldn't even understand. Cross turned back to the delegation. Now shall we discuss terms? The negotiations that followed were nothing like what the aliens had expected. Earth wasn't interested in rejoining the Galactic Council or restoring the old system. Humanity had moved beyond that. We'll consider establishing relationships with individual governments, Cross explained, but only as equal partners. No more serving alien interests while our own people suffer. No more fighting alien wars while being denied basic resources. No more sharing our innovations freely while being treated like servants. The terms were simple but revolutionary. Any alien government that wanted human assistance would have to prove they respected human independence. They would have to offer fair trade, not charity disguised as cooperation. Most importantly, they would have to acknowledge that humanity was no longer interested in being anyone's junior partner. President Baker appeared on the view screen to deliver humanity's final message to the galaxy. His words were broadcast across every still-functioning communication network in alien space. For too long, humanity tried to be part of a galactic community that never truly accepted us as equals. We shared our gifts freely and asked only for basic respect in return. Instead, we were treated as servants and cannon fodder. Baker paused and looked directly at the camera. Today, that ends. Earth is open to trade and cooperation with any species that approaches us as equals. We will defend ourselves against any threat, as you just witnessed. But we will no longer sacrifice human lives and resources for those who do not value them. The message was clear to everyone watching. Humanity had not just survived their isolation. They had used it to become something far more powerful than anyone had imagined. The galaxy could rebuild, but it would rebuild around humanity's terms. Chancellor Vex and his delegation returned to their dying civilization with a choice to make. They could swallow their pride and approach Earth as equals, or they could continue their slide into chaos and collapse. For the first time in galactic history, humans held all the cards, and they were no longer interested in giving them away for free.